Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tungsten Wire. I know I don't push out enough content on this channel, and for that I apologize. I think we push out some shorts every now and then, but anyways, today we're going to be talking about Candace Owens, right? And why she's not an ally to the Palestinian cause. Now, over the last year, or maybe last 2 years, something kind of weird has happened. Parts of the pro-Palestinian left have ended up agreeing with Candace Owens. Now, look, she's criticized Israel. She's talked about Israeli war crimes. And for some people, that's been enough to treat her like an ally. And it really shouldn't be. Now, you have to understand, Candace Owens isn't opposing Israel because she believes in Palestinian liberation, right? International law, she doesn't believe in, or even like human rights. She's doing it for completely different and honestly much more selfish reasons. And I think pretending otherwise is a mistake. Now, I did write a newsletter post about this on the tungstenwire.com. I think it was on January 14th I published it. So if you want to read that, you can go ahead and head over there. But I'm pretty much going to cover everything I wrote in that over here. But I wasn't even going to make a video about it. I figured I wrote about it. That's enough. But then I saw that Bassem Youssef went on her podcast. And I think that's was a bad idea. And I hope Mehdi Hassan and I hope Jon Stewart have a long talk with him because what he did was stupid, right? We can't legitimize this person. Now, I get why this is happening, right? The pro-Palestine movement has been isolated for a long time. As someone who's been in it since high school, I know how lonely it's been, right? When mainstream media shuts you out, you start looking for anyone with a big platform who sounds like they're on your side. But Candace Owens is not someone we should be embracing. Look, yeah, she brings reach. She does. She also brings baggage, though. The kind that actively damages the cause, right? I've said this before and I'll say it again. Like I said, I wrote about it already. Candace Owens is a liability and not a good person. Let's be clear about something. What she peddles in isn't anti-Zionism like she likes to think, right? She's laundering her anti-Semitism through the pro-Palestine cause, basically. And actively aligning with her hurts the many Jewish activists within our cause, right? We have Jewish allies within this cause. And when we partner with someone like Candace Owens, who is an anti-Semite, we're hurting the cause. And we're hurting them. We're hurting our allies. Right? Owens likes to say she's just anti-Zionist, but her own words keep blowing up that idea. For example, back in 2019, she tried to contextualize Adolf Hitler by saying that if he had just wanted to make Germany great and run things well, that would have been fine. But the mistake he made was leaving the borders of Germany. Right? And that wasn't like some slip, she misspoke or something. That told us exactly how casually she treats nationalist violence and why Jewish communities were rightfully alarmed by her. And no, people are going to tell me like, hey man, maybe it's out of context. No, the context didn't make it better. It made it worse, to be honest. And now fast forward to now, and her attacks on Israel aren't grounded in international law or human rights. They're built on vibes, right? And on conspiratorial vibes, right? Shadowy power, media control, collective guilt. These aren't policy critiques. These are not criticizing a national colonialist project, a right-wing political ideology. These are literally just old anti-Semitic tropes. And when we peddle in these, that does nothing to further the cause of the Palestinians. Now, she'll sometimes say she separates Jewish people from Zionism, right? But she does it inconsistently, and often she doesn't do it at all, right? And it's not a coincidence that this ramped up after her fallout with Ben Shapiro and at the Daily Wire, right? Listen, look, Shapiro is a disgusting Zionist propagandist. There's no question about that. Owens knew that attacking Israel would hurt him, personally and politically. And once she saw the engagement numbers, she doubled down because she was getting like 300,000 views, right? She saw that this was going to pay her bills, so she kept going with it. Right? This wasn't a moral awakening. It was essentially a rebrand to a new grift. And it falls apart the second you look at her record, right? Candace Owens has never had a problem dismissing oppressed people. She's downplayed systemic racism for years. She's argued white supremacy isn't a serious threat. She's blamed inequality on the people suffering from it. And when it comes to Muslims, it's the same story. She's warned about Europe becoming Muslim majority, treated Muslim population growth like civilizational threat, and talked about over 1 billion people like they're all the same, right? She treats Muslims like a monolith. People who spend years attacking Muslims don't suddenly become champions of Palestinians out of principle. And this is where the real danger comes in. Conspiracy isn't an accident when it comes to Candace Owens. It's her entire strategy. She's extremely good at turning outrage into clicks. She mixes real grievances with conspiracy theories and trains her audience to distrust evidence, institutions, and sometimes reality itself, right? That's why she pushed the completely debunked rumor that Brigitte Macron, about her being secretly a man. Not because it was true, but because it went viral for some reason. Now she's doing the same thing with Palestine. Real war crimes happening in Gaza get lumped in with all this garbage conspiracy theory she peddles. Evidence gets drowned out by, the evidence of war crimes in Gaza is getting drowned out by crazy fringe rhetoric that she sandwiches it in between. And all this does is give Israel's defenders the perfect excuse to write the entire movement off as anti-Semitic and unhinged and conspiracy theory. Like, when she's talking about Charlie Kirk being a time traveler, right, which is a conspiracy theory, then she's talking about, reporting from the Middle East Eye, for example, about war crimes in Gaza, dead babies in Gaza, right, true stuff. And then she's talking about Brigitte Macron, right? Two things are batshit crazy. So so Zionists can take that entire block and be like, look at these two batshit crazy. You're going to believe the middle one, which is true. You're going to believe that one, right? And then another thing she does is she also talks about pop culture, which brings in normies, watching her. And so her numbers are skyrocketing. She's getting normies in to watch her as well. And she's getting them to start thinking this garbage crap. And when they're peddling this garbage crap, it hurts the Palestinian movement, right? Candace Owens' work doesn't weaken Zionist propaganda. It makes it stronger because it gives them a reason to discredit us. And she also turns everything into a spectacle. Genocide, geopolitics, and historical trauma get thrown into the same content as influencer drama and online beefs. So the suffering of Palestinians is being used to become content for her, right? She's using it as content, which is not solidarity, right? That's not solidarity. That's exploitation. So let's call it what it is, right? Candace Owens doesn't help the Palestinian struggle. She ruins it, right? For example, at the Tungsten Wire, right, us opposing Israel's crimes is about human rights and international law, right? Not collective hatred of Jewish people like her. We reject Zionism as a settler colonial ideology, right? Not Jewish people as human beings, right? And Candace Owens, she doesn't hold that same line, right? And she never has. So it's important to realize that sharing an enemy doesn't mean sharing values, right? Bassem Youssef sharing an enemy with Candace Owens doesn't make them both, because I think Bassem Youssef is quite left-wing, right? They don't have the same values then, right? So Candace Owens is not an ally, and treating her like one hurts the cause more than it helps. So if we are serious about the liberation of Palestinians, we also have to be serious about who we refuse to legitimize, right? This idea that even Tucker Carlson is one of these people, right? He's talking about how demons came after him and scratched him up after he got fired from Fox News, right? He talks about all this bat crap, crazy stuff, and then he talks about how, we shouldn't be sending money to bomb innocent children in Palestine, and then we're like, yo, man, this guy's a real G, right? You know, Marjorie Taylor Greene. These guys have all peddled in Islamophobic garbage rhetoric. And then you got people like Bassem Youssef going on their podcast. You got people like Cenk Uygur from TYT being like, we need to build bridges with these people. I'm a centrist, blah, 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 blah. I'm a progressive, blah, 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 blah. Brother, you're a Muslim. You're a Muslim and they hate the very existence of you. Well, you're going to pretend that they're your ally. Brother, the right-wing grift isn't working out. Give it up. Actually, keep going. I don't care anymore. You definitely not an ally. It's going to take a long time. I know Anna Kasparian has come out and like apologized apparently. Like, oh my God, I didn't know Trump was a fascist when Trump literally said, on day one, I'm going to be a dictator. You know? He said it. He told you he was going to be a dictator. Now you can be like, well, he just says stuff. Okay, so he's a liar. I mean, turns out he's also a dictator. That's not better. You know what I mean? Anyways, what more is there to say about this? These people are trying to, like, I don't know. Like, you're not going to win these people over to our side. Right? I'm glad. I'm glad we have great voices speaking up for Palestine. We don't need Candace Owens. I don't even know if MTG is doing it. I think she is. She calls it a genocide now. But when I see Medea Benjamin from Code Pink taking a picture with her, thanking her for her solidarity with Palestinians, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, my God. MTG is literally the lady who was talking about Jewish space lasers. How's that helping the Palestinian cause? We got the Jewish space lasers lady on our side. No, we don't. She hates Jewish people. Right? She hates Jewish Voice for Peace, who are standing with us, right? And you want her to, and you're taking pictures with her, as if she's some, hero. What's wrong with you? These are people who are going to discredit the pro-Palestinian cause because they're going to be like, really? You think the pro-Palestine people are legit? Well, guess what? They're elevating someone who talks about Jewish space lasers. They're talking about someone who runs a secret cabal like Candace Owens does. She claims that. Come on. What are we doing here? We have great voices. Why are we stooping so low? Like I said, I know it's been a lonely cause, but it isn't lonely anymore. It's on the forefront of global discourse now, the Palestinian cause. And most of the world seems to be pro-Palestine. That's amazing. Trust me, as someone who has been in the pro-Palestine movement since I was a teenager, since high school. Trust me when I say we do not need these people. And by these people, I mean these right-wingers who hate Jewish people and are using it as a way to launder their anti-Semitism. We do not need them. Anyways, I'm going to end it with that. Thank you so much for watching. Peace be upon you, and I will see you next time.